In the distant future, all podcasts have been disintegrated by the overlords. It is up to an intergalactic team to bring back podcasting. This is What the Podcast.
There it is.
Wow.
Yeah. Welcome to What the Podcast, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
My name's Ryan.
I'm John.
And together we are...
Ryan and John.
Wow.
That feels good, man.
It feels real good.
We're back.
We made it. We made it here to this moment.
Barely made it.
Barely made it. Yes. We have a lot of fun things planned.
We have a lot.
We have a lot of
planned
plan things.
Planned. A lot of
Well,
planned things.
whatever. You know, I'm going to drink my coffee and I'm going to say this week we're really excited because John, you have a multimedia
I do.
like something that's about to happen.
Well,
as everyone knows, we've been starting every week this month celebrating Black History Month.
yes, we have.
John, why don't you take it away before I say
Yeah, of course. And
anything wrong here?
yeah.
Just mess up my words
Wow.
more.
Incredible intro. Thank you.
Really
First of
something
all,
special.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been starting every week highlighting a non-well-known African-American person who made change in their area or in their field. And the first week we had politics, and the second week our theme was dance. And this week, our theme is movies and film. Ooh. And I chose this one because I just feel like I just love movies and film, and I've always been interested in that stuff. So I thought this is kind of and out of all the categories, it felt like the most me. I don't know.
Hey.
So this week we're going to be learning about.
Oh, wow, he has a clicker.
Pause for dramatic effect.
Oh.
Will you click that for me? It should be.
Maybe.
Next, right?
Maybe.
There we go.
Hey.
Noble Johnson, and then you can click again. He is an African American cinema pioneer, and this was a long time ago. But let's talk about who is Noble Johnson. You can go ahead and click. Just keep there. He was a character actor in cinema, notable for being one of the few African Americans in the field during this studio era. He started acting at age 34, which is kind of late in the game. And because of his large size, he was 6'2", 215 pounds. Johnson was often cast as key roles in serials, horror movies, and that alike, which basically means he was often the villain. Because he had that kind of build
Interesting.
for like a villain. Also, an interesting, notable thing was he played not only Africans or African Americans, but he also played Native Americans, Asians, ranging from Chinese to East Indian, Arabians, and Pacific Islanders. So there was no. He was kind of playing all of them, which is a weird thing to think about,
Oh, yeah, of course.
He also was heavily involved in silent movies before they started involving sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting that he was cast as not only his own nationality, but as several others. Just kind of showed you how narrow the field was, which is, sad, but
Absolutely.
reality in that time frame. As a compliment. So this is why I picked him. In 1916, Johnson made what have been the biggest historical mark, and it was co-founding the Lincoln Motion Picture Company. It was the first American studio whose mission was to produce race in quotations films, which basically means that he was kind of started the studio to make films for people of color, because there's just no studio was doing it at the time, and he had the funds because he was in all these major movies, and so he took it upon himself to make that happen, which I thought was really, really awesome.
Yeah.
So you can click next. This is just one of the posters. It was just basically colored moving pictures. He was just trying to get the word out that he was hiring, unlike anybody else, he was hiring people of color, which was super awesome. Yeah, and that picture just is like
So was
crazy to me.
was the production company was made up of colored people?
Yeah.
Was it like
Yeah, it was all. So like I said, he was mainstream, and that's what that next note says. If you go back one, or
Sorry, yeah, don't let me derail the.
no,
Keep going,
you're right.
please.
No,
I'm just so curious.
No, but
Yeah.
yes, basically what it was saying was that he was in mainstream film. So like he was getting paid like what movie stars were getting paid back
Sure.
then, and instead of like just breaking away and doing that, he continued to do the mainstream films because he had the contacts, but he was using his like money to start something that would give like people of color a foothold in the industry.
Yeah.
And his company only lasted for 7 years before he decided he couldn't keep it up. He couldn't do both, and he was like, "There's more work to be done in the mainstream."
Yeah.
And he's like, "So I have to kind of choose the mainstream." But so his company folded after he left because he was the president and the CEO of the company, of course, because he started it. And so I just thought like can you go back to there's some with pictures on it, I think. Yeah. This one. Okay, so the one at the top, that was him. He played a chief, like a native chief, in the original King Kong in 1933.
Oh, wow.
So that's like he was in films as big as King Kong,
Yeah.
like back in the early
One of the
1900s.
biggest on the silver screen days.
Yeah, and so, and it was interesting. And he also was just super pioneer for like when color came out, when they moved away from black and white, he was just always like kind of a voice about how people of color just didn't read on screen because it was black and white. So when they shifted to color, he was like really trying to get people of color in there because it like was harder obviously to tell in the black and white eras, but he felt it was so important to get people on screen as soon as film went to color, which I thought was cool. And he retired at 69 and he passed away at 96. So he had a long retirement, which I think is fitting for him. Because he did a lot of work. I was really cool. When I was, when we started this project, Olivia sent out like a list of people in each area, and I like, of course, some of them were like Shonda Rhimes and like all the people, like of course but I like for whatever reason, like in the back of my head, I was like, I need to look through it again because I almost just chose Shonda Rhimes because. It's just like the easiest one to choose.
Right.
She's the best.
And she's awesome, you know? And I was like, this will be easy because it'll be like all these favorite shows, all these shows we know. But then I was like, I saw this name and I was like, I don't know why. I was like, I'm just going to do a cursory look. And I'm so glad I chose this one because Noble Johnson, it seems like an insignificant period of time. But even back then, it just shows you like his spirit to go and create a company to fill that void, even in back then. Super cool.
Absolutely.
I learned a lot though.
I definitely want to discuss. I think that's really, really interesting that he was put in these roles that were not just as Native or not just black roles, but as other minority like groups. I think that's interesting because it's like the fact that he was even like he's lumped into entire demographics of people as that placeholder of representation. I think that's interesting because it's like it just shows how much how dominant like white people were in the industry and how little they valued so many other races. The fact that they lumped all those different groups of people together, it's fascinating, it's sad, it's horrifying, it's just very interesting that was even a thing, that they just kind of shoehorned him into all those different roles, when all of those different races obviously deserve representation.
Yeah.
Well, what I thought was kind of interesting too is like he was the guy that they called for all those, and so he could like there was some merit in like the sense that he could have just kind of continued to do what he was doing and not thought about creating something bigger than himself. He could have just been like, I'm going to make all the money because they just keep calling me, and I'm just gonna like live my life and retire, and like that's not my problem. But the fact that he like went out and founded the Lincoln, motion picture company was super crazy to me.
Yes,
and he was so
Huge
ahead of
character.
the time too. Like the civil rights movement wouldn't happen for another like 50 years.
Crazy.
And he was on the front end of cinema, which is like the arguably one of the biggest arts outlets in the world.
Yep.
And he's at the forefront going, there needs to be a production company for African American people.
Yeah, and I think again, like I also think his deciding to stay into mainstream 7 years after his company Cloud, you could see that as like he's giving up, but I think he knew how important it was to like forge forward, and that like he had already kind of made his reputation in this industry that was just predominantly white, and I think it wasn't selfish. I think it was actually opposite. I think he was kind of leaning into like, okay, I have to continue to forge the path here, and I can't do both.
If I'm going to be seen in this facet.
And
like,
someday, because I like pushed through and dealt with stuff I'm dealing with, somebody will own an all black, movie company, which Tyler Perry pretty much does. So it's super awesome. So cool.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, man, dude. I love the. I'm gonna have to step my game up next week.
Yeah,
I really.
Well, I thought it was TV and film, and I was like, it's so easy to just talk about it, but like this guy made his whole career on being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And being seen. So I think it's
course.
important that we see him.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, great. Thank you.
John.
And
If you're listening, sorry. There's a whole day.
definitely gonna want to check out the video podcast for sure. Anyways. Moving on, because we have some special guests in the studio this week. Really excited about this. All the way from Santa Rosa, California, we have.
Wait, are you gonna?
Oh,
yeah. Thank you.
hold on.
Yeah, drum roll or something.
You might as well use that thing if you're
Come
gonna.
on.
I mean, it's gonna be here.
There it is.
Using our thing. by the
There
way.
it is.
We have Matthew and Grace Berg in the studio
up?
this week. Hi, you guys.
Hey,
Thank you for
hey.
being here.
Thanks for having us, man.
Of course. You told me your title, how to introduce you, and I already forgot it.
Wow.
Tell me what you guys are about. What do you do? Why are you here?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if introduction is necessary, but yeah, my name is Matt. I am the next generation pastor. Fancy title for youth pastor.
Yes.
At a church up in Santa Rosa, California called Santa Rosa Christian Church. So I oversee 6th grade to 12th grade as well as young adults. And so I'm in this process of launching a brand new ministry in youth and young adults in a city that I've only lived 3 months of my life in. So it's a challenge, but it's exciting and it's awesome.
But more importantly than all of that
Yeah.
is that Ryan and Olivia Tafolla are our family.
That is
Thank
right.
you for bringing that up because
I didn't just hit up the pastor
Yes.
out on the street. Yes.
Oh, are we going to talk about that? Are we
Oh.
associating ourselves
I
with
am
that?
family by marriage, whereas my wife
Matt's
is
just here
family
because
by blood.
Yeah,
That's
come
right.
on,
Yeah.
let's get it. Let's
Free
get
ride
it
for Matt
straight.
over there.
That's
I'm just
right.
riding
Gracie's-
coattails here.
That's good to know because I don't think I knew which one you
That's
were.
right. Gracie's
Yes.
mom
Okay.
is my father's sister.
Yep.
Whoa.
We
I
have
know.
the same
We're
grandma.
cousins.
And they're the
You
only
have-
siblings. It's just them two.
Yep, that's right.
I don't know. You have a Tafolla vibe, so I
Good.
if I had to guess,
It's Tafolla blood
It
coursing through her
radiates.
veins. That's
Good.
right.
I take that as a deep compliment.
That's
you
right.
should. It was meant as a decomp.
Good. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're our cousins.
That's
so,
right.
yeah,
That's
Ryan and Livy are my first cousins.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And their podcast debut tonight.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the first time.
So,
Very
Welcome.
first.
We're just little baby rookies out
yeah,
here.
Yes.
you know, it's okay. I was just there. What episode
Mere
is
months
this?
ago.
Mere 13 weeks ago.
Wait,
Yeah.
did Grace get to introduce herself?
Grace, what do you
Take the
do?
floor.
That's
What
why
is
we
your
have her
official
here.
title?
She
Thank
keeps
you.
us in
Thank
line.
you.
Keeping it
Keep us
straight.
on
Thank you, Olivia.
point.
Yes, I am Matt's wife. I am a mom. We have 2 little girls, 2
Whoa.
under 2.
Sure
I'm learning
do.
all this for the first time. Incredible.
Wow, incredible, John. And
Just soak it all in. Just really
yeah.
take it in.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah,
Damn.
and I just recently started working at the church too. So we're
Nice.
Right on.
yeah, just started working again after the babies.
Yeah, but
What
Love it.
capacity are you working in the church? as?
Yeah, so I am doing children's ministry. I'm the director of it.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yep.
Incredible.
Nothing
Yeah.
to shake a stick at. You guys came on the
Yeah.
scene and just put down your roots, taking over, and
Yes. No kidding.
I like that title, Next Generation Pastor. Like it really keeps the you know,
Is it better?
yeah, like the where your focus is and like what your mission is as a youth director kind
It's got to
of
be hard
situation.
though. I imagine like you're spread pretty thin, you know, because
Yeah.
as in my limited experience in ministry, it's like being tied to one ministry feels like a full-time gig, and
Totally.
of course, tied to both.
And it's like what I'm trying to figure out now is how do you communicate to a 6th grader and not lose the 12th grader and vice versa?
Right.
You know, being that within the ministry you have 6th through 12th grade, and that's kind of the youth group and how it's functioned. So how do you reach those same demographics and not lose any, have any fall through the cracks? So, but I couldn't do it alone. I mean, Grace, I run so many ideas by her. She's just brilliant, and I'm in the process of building our team, our youth team, and who's really good with the younger age or the older age. And so it's definitely not just on me, man. It takes a village, but it's fun. It's fun. It keeps me young, but also kind of teaches me how old I truly am.
That's right. That's right.
We're
But
feeling
it's
that
good.
full millennial thing right now. We're
Totally.
The
skinny
generation
jeans,
separation. Yeah.
Sorry, can't relate.
Are you
The
Gen Z?
Zoomers.
Is that
I'm
why?
so young.
Oh my god!
Have you heard what the Gen Zers are talking about us? They're talking
What are they
mad
saying?
smack.
Yeah,
That's
of course.
smack.
They always are.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're saying that. Yeah.
She's in the room, so.
Please explain yourself.
Zoomer,
Oh,
how do you
me?
plead there?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah,
I don't
you
think
guys
you're a
have been.
typical Gen Z though.
Yeah, I'm kind of ahead of my time. Not gonna lie.
So you would identify as a millennial, maybe?
Maybe I wing millennial.
Millennial, like the Enneagram.
I hate it so much.
I'm a Z.
We're gonna transition.
Millennial.
I'm
Wait,
a
no, wait.
I'm
Wait,
a
for a second.
podcaster wing. That's it.
Oh.
No wing.
You have no
I'm a
other.
I have.
Z with
I'm
a
not a part
wing
of this
and-
generation.
No,
I don't
yeah.
even know what. I'm
The next
definitely on the
generation
This
cusp.
is what I love
has been
about
getting
this
roasted.
dynamic.
Uh-huh.
It's like true brother and sister relationship. Like I watch
Every
it and I
week.
feel like
Call
I'm
them out.
watching me and my sister.
Every week.
Aw.
Hey, we'll get your sister
Anytime
in here
Olivia says
one of
something,
these weeks.
Brian's like, okay, next segment.
I will literally drag you right now.
I will drag him.
Great. Well, we're glad you guys are here.
I was gonna.
What do you got?
Roast
What do you
your
got?
guys' generation.
Go ahead, Jen Zoomer.
So
Please.
on TikTok recently, people have been talking about how your guys' generation has been wearing skinny jeans for far too long, and you have a lot of side parts.
Yeah, stupid.
Whereas the new thing is the middle part.
Right. Which I noticed I had a side part before we walked in. I said, gotta get rid of
Gotta
that.
cut that
could've
out.
been
It's really
bad.
showing my age.
That could have been bad.
Very self-aware.
Thank you.
I feel like in a lot of ways,
I think, why do we care? As a side note,
I feel like millennials, I don't know.
we changed the
There's
game.
so much
That's
more
right.
of a separation between, like, I don't know, boomers and like,
Yes.
or it felt like there was.
They're probably,
Yeah.
well, I mean, yeah. for
And
sure.
now suddenly there's this new generation that feels like it's still a part of. When people start talking about Gen Z,
Well-
I'm like, okay, but we're all like the internet age,
I
aren't
have
we?
a
Like,
question though, like, how does it go in like order? It goes like boomer,
There's
boomer
something
is like
else.
your grandparents.
something else.
Gen
millennial,
X,
right?
Gen X is like our parents.
Gen X.
Gen
okay.
X,
Yeah, yeah,
Generation
yeah.
X.
Well, I think because baby boomers
Grew up
they were
with
just-
punk
they were just
rock,
living in a different
whatever.
era. You know, like they were
Right.
living in like wartime.
They all went to war.
Yeah, they all went to war. and
Gen
came
X
back
was
and
like,
changed.
you
Everyone
just
went
don't
to war.
understand us. And then millennials kind of just came on the scene, and I feel like,
the internet is.
We
what
got the
fuels
internet,
us.
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
boomers and Gen Xers like were deciding what they were. They were like, yeah, you're obsessed with the internet. You're obsessed with, you know.
Yeah, we're like stages
Avocado
in, like,
toast.
This weird experiment where they're like, okay, we're gonna split 4 groups up.
So
And
bizarre.
we're not going to introduce the internet to this group.
Nope.
Right.
We're going to
will never.
introduce it barely to this group.
Yep.
This group's gonna get like the real boom of it, and then Gen Z is gonna be like
Born in it.
engulfed in it. Like,
Born in it.
too far.
Yeah, it'll swallow it whole and
Yeah.
spit it out.
Too
Yeah.
much.
That's
So
right.
weird. I don't like it.
Well, I mean, Gen Z has TikTok.
reject it.
So
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. And you know how I feel about TikTok. I'm changing, but
We'll
I
talk
still
about
don't
it
love
every week. I
We'll get there,
mean,
John.
but look, this show could go on this way, or we
Could.
could talk about our sponsor,
Poddex.
Poddex. John, why don't you give us a little?
Poddex is a company that creates decks of cards that have individual questions on every single card. And they're good for if you're thinking about starting a podcast or if you just want to have fun and get to know your friends. If you use our promo code WTP, stands for What the Podcast, you'll get 10% off your first order. Get Poddex, because it's worth it.
Wow.
Well, and that's the soundbite.
And then
Wow.
cut
Wait,
that.
what's
reuse
our
it.
code?
WTP.
WTP. What the podcast?
WTP. WTP.
I don't know if it's supposed to be all caps. I typed it in as all caps.
Okay,
You
okay.
could probably do both. I don't know if caps has any
Yeah,
bearings.
try
on
both.
What
promo
the-
code.
Maybe you'll
You
get
guys, you're
maybe you get
sponsored.
20% off.
That.
Well, we're affiliates.
Yeah, we're an affiliate.
Those are a big deal.
Whatever.
Well,
whatever.
You guys are
if you could tell that
affiliates, and that's
to
wonderful.
to Pod Decks, that would be great.
If you could call LaCroix for us.
Hey guys, I have a quick
On it.
question for everyone. What do you think is the most unpleasant sounding word?
Easy.
Are we allowed to cuss on this podcast?
You would be the
That
first.
is, that is a controversy we've been
I
going back
know.
and forth
Look,
on.
I'm very much yes
He's pro.
about it. I'm like bring it on, but
I'm a
Then you get a
bit-
little E by your episode.
You get
all right, we're gonna
Whoa.
save that one. We're gonna save it.
You're gonna say
You're-
it for
you're
me.
I'm not
second
gonna
most
do it. I won't
unpleasant.
be the first.
You could.
Pastor's wife.
Yeah,
Don't worry,
child.
we're
Mine wins the
close.
E.
Don't
Kids,
worry, we're
man.
pastors,
We've
don't
been
worry.
protecting Ryan for way too long.
Well,
okay?
and look,
because Ryan wants to do it every time. We're like, you can't do this. You're
Literally.
the only person who can't do
I
this.
almost get canceled every single week. And we had Bobby
Should've
on,
been
and he
canceled.
really had to like.
Yeah, well, we
Control
we should,
himself.
We always should censor him. He's kind of a problem.
That's true. That's true. What do you think? Most unpleasant sounding word, PG version.
I
No.
would say
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't like the word gallop
Gallop.
or scallop.
Allop is the part you don't like.
Yeah, I think that's the common denominator there. Gallop.
Seems to be.
Something that I don't like about that. I don't like scorpion.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't like tender.
bad one.
Has weird connotation.
I agree.
Wait.
Moist.
How many words were we giving her?
She said
Just
it for
tell me
all
when
of
to
us.
stop.
Olivia, feel some stuff.
Conundrum.
This is
Jiggle.
Gen Z. Oh my god.
TikTok Jen over here.
Gigolo.
Oh, I
sorry,
don't like that one.
explicit.
I don't like that one. No, that's not
That's
really.
not explicit.
Okay. I think that's it for now. I'll let you know if I think
Thank
of
you.
more.
Wow, and that's our segment. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I don't know if I have anything after that.
I have one.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was listening to it today. Somebody said it in something I was watching today, the whole thing, and they said and hear me out.
Yep.
The word is hang, and here's why. There's no good.
Hang.
Hang.
Yeah, there's no good like verb version of it.
Yeah.
You know, like
Hangs.
hunged it, hanged it,
Oh.
like
Well, it depends on what
Never a
you're what
good
you're
one.
saying. Like, if a guy got hanged, or I hung up a picture
yeah,
on
but
the wall.
I don't like that. I see. That's why it's not. I wish it was.
You know what that
simpler.
reminds me of? It reminds me of what's his last name? Luke Bryan
Yeah.
on American Idol. He says singer.
Oh,
Singer?
I don't like
Singer.
that.
Yeah.
Emphasizes
Yeah.
the G.
And I would say that is
Singer.
my word. I
Yeah.
don't ever want to hear Luke Bryan
Specifically
say
him
that
saying
ever again.
No, yeah, let's cancel.
Ugh.
Hang and
Singer.
singer.
Well, yeah, because you know what I'm saying. Like, there's no clear. Like, I get it. Like, you can use this or this, but I just wish it was simpler. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm always going back. Like, which one am I? Which one am I supposed to use?
Yes,
like,
yes.
And then I look like an idiot in front of my friends
Yeah.
because I say the wrong version. I don't know. Maybe
How
I'm,
often do you talk about somebody getting hanged?
Well, first of all, you can use the word hang other than somebody got
Well,
hanged.
yeah, but not. But if it's any other way, it's hung. I hung up a picture
Okay,
of
fine. You know what? We differ.
myself. Well,
Our first feud.
wow.
Oh,
We don't.
God.
Our first on-camera feud.
Yeah,
Because the post show is pretty fiery in here.
We do.
I'm going to tell you, this is not like conventionally unpleasant words,
Yeah.
but ones that have cropped up in my life in the past
Cropped?
year.
Bad word.
Okay, well, relax. That's not what I'm about. Ones that have arisen
Okay.
in the past
Oh,
year.
Is that one?
Even worse.
No, stop. Okay,
That's my new
stop
word.
talking. Pivot.
Pivot.
The new normal.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's
Oh.
just like a phrase, though.
No, okay, well, it's a couple words.
Okay.
Okay, you know what
So,
I'm saying?
new.
Hearing,
The
no,
normal.
all of those
The
words
stuff.
together. You know what I mean? Like, they're COVID words. They're COVID words.
COVID-19 can die.
The new normal.
Just get rid of it.
The new normal, when you hear it in
Yeah.
Unprecedented
meeting.
times.
Unprecedented times.
Ew.
You hear the word unprecedented.
God.
Well, using
Icky.
normal.
It gets you.
Uh-huh.
Using
just seems like
normal
they're
and stuff like
downplaying
this
Yeah.
always feels stupid because like when is something normal? Like things
Yeah.
are always changing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like
oh
to
my
say that
gosh.
this is the normal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
So
the
dumb.
word is used conventionally in other ways, but
Sure.
just like using it in like everyday society, like this is normal. It's like nothing's ever normal.
Right.
Right.
Because life is changing so much.
Yeah.
But that's actually, thinking about it now, unprecedented. That's
Ooh,
my
I
one.
hate it. Because it just seems like, oh, you know, everything else has been expected
Yeah.
in this lifetime,
This
but
is-
this is so
Yep.
crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like it.
Unprecedented.
Annoying.
I think a phrase that got everyone on edge last night while watching The Bachelor
Yes.
Yep.
was, I don't know what's going on in his head.
Oh yeah.
Headspace.
Yeah, you guys are big Bachelor
That
people.
is it.
I'll tell you what.
Headspace.
John, this is something
Let's
that
talk
I
about
have
it.
no control over. This is
Oh, I saw your vlog.
is Monday
from
nights.
Greg.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm glad somebody's watching those. Monday
Me, every
nights,
single one.
we all, rally around in the Tafolla house and we watch Bachelor.
Okay, can I ask you something though?
Yep.
People who watch it regularly.
Yes.
Why?
Yep.
Like,
Okay,
what's
so-
what's
That's the
appeal?
big question.
So that's the thing.
Do you think that will also follow up?
I
for a
have
second.
I have a
Okay.
rant, but I'll hear.
Follow up.
Let's hear the positives
Okay.
first.
Okay.
What I have two questions. You can answer both.
Sure.
What's the allure? And two, do you actually think these people are falling in love?
No. Okay, so
Good
that's a great.
questions.
There's definitely layers
I'm a
to that.
podcaster. Go ahead.
I watched the. I started out watching the show because I was like, this is just insane, right? Like, same reason why I watch the Kardashians or any other reality TV show. I think it's absolutely crazy. The stuff that happens
Kardashians.
on the show. Okay, we'll get back to that. But
That's a whole
first,
episode.
that's a whole.
Anyways,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Wow. But
It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
I watch the show because I think it's so insane, and it kind of just feels like unreal. Like the stuff that happens on the show feels like Grace said last night, a social experiment. Like it doesn't seem like it's actually happening, but it's happening on live television. So that's the main reason. But I came to a realization last night that I don't know if I want to watch it anymore.
Yeah.
Why, Olivia?
There's
She's
a
taking
lot.
over.
Thank you, Grace. There's a lot of reasons why. I think it's genuinely at the root of it. I think it's toxic, and
Yeah.
I think it encourages human behavior that I don't think is acceptable. Like I don't think it's okay to encourage, like, whether it's the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, to have multiple relationships at once. And that's just my personal opinion. I don't think that's healthy. I also think it encourages toxic, specifically on the Bachelor, toxic relationships between women, where it's very much based on appearance and body types, like a very specific, like, skinny body type. And I just feel like it's like they put them in these scenarios, for example, like where they physically have to box, like they have to fight each other on the show. And whoever wins the physical fight gets to have more time with the Bachelor. And so it's like, it's just putting these women up against each other to compare themselves to one another and fight physically and emotionally for a relationship. And it just seems like a bad start to a relationship in the first place.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of things that are wrong with the show. I don't know if I want to continue watching it, but I think it's also interesting because it's kind of a reflection of society as well. So, yeah.
I'm just so surprised that it hasn't been canceled.
That's, yeah.
I
for
mean,
real.
we're
True.
kind of in the midst of that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
now we are, of course. But exactly what you're saying, like, in concept, it's so away from, like, I feel like the Me Too movement and the full, like, this empowering women, like, thing. Like, I feel like feminism as a concept can't really exist in the same universe as The Bachelor.
And for a long time, I recognize that point
Uh-huh.
of view. I totally see how you can make that argument. At the same time, I originally was like, well, these women are choosing to be on the show.
Right.
It's, it's not like these things are out of their control. They know what they're getting into when they sign
Yep.
up. It's also helping their careers. A lot of these women that go on the show leave the show and have these thriving,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
brand
making that
deals.
influencer
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Exactly.
And that's
They
the
get big
part
on
that
social
bothers
media.
me.
Okay.
Is like this is just another platform
Yeah.
to glorify bad people.
Yeah.
Like and that's the core of keeping up with the Kardashians.
Yep.
Like the Kardashians, like, and I hope they hear this. I hope they hear this. I don't think that, like, they're influence worthy, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like, I don't think that they have, they should be influencing my future children. I mean,
Okay.
they won't.
Right.
But
Mm-hmm.
like, and that's at some level, that's probably a parenting thing. But like, that's what TV thrives on. That's what keeps people coming back. It's like the human,
Which part
experience.
specifically? Like living in
Like-
excess? Like
Living in excess. Yeah, living in excess. And I also think just like dramatic discord where, like, you're just like
Yeah.
fighting. Like, that's
Yeah.
people love to see that. I mean, like, when there's
Yeah.
a fight in school, we all ran to watch it. You
Yep.
know, like, nobody's
Yep.
like, I would never watch. It's like the human experience, the way we're wired, Now, should we be feeding into that? No.
Right.
That's like the part of ourselves we should be, like, pushing back against and being like, hey, you know what? like I'm gonna live a healthier lifestyle if I don't bring this into my life.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my big conspiracy.
Go ahead.
Is I think The Bachelor is completely fake.
I think it's all completely
well,
fake.
not
You're
completely
right.
fake. I'm gonna say 60%, more than half of the show.
In what ways?
I think
That it's overproduced.
a few.
Vehemently
I would
disagree.
I would go as far as to say.
Okay.
Okay.
Both make a
Oh my
case.
God.
I
Right?
would go
Gosh.
as far as to say
You don't want
that a lot of the girls are actresses. They are
Wow.
not on the show. They are there.
That's bold.
The personalities on the show, they're playing a part. Down to, and it really blew up for me because it was the girl, help me
Victoria.
out. Victoria.
Sure.
Who
The
came in
queen
and
on
was
the
the
season.
queen, and the camera
Such a
was
good-
always following her, and she was like having these big dramatic moments. And I know, like, I grew up in theater, so I knew dramatic people, and I still know dramatic people. And so I know one is capable of being like that.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's just like,
It was very convenient.
it's just
especially-
so perfect.
Yes, on this season, it was like when drama wasn't happening in the house, Victoria would amp up.
Yes.
And then when there was actual drama that was happening, where girls were having like arguments over, other things, she would tone it down and then suddenly be like a voice of reason.
And now she's off the show, but other girls have taken that position a few times where it's
See,
like now we're focusing on this girl, and she's like, I compared it in my vlog to professional wrestling. It's like this girl took a fall, like, you know how like Dwayne Johnson, like The Rock Johnson would be
Yeah.
like the villain, right, the heel, right, and he'd like take a fall, like a big match would have. Anybody professional wrestling?
You're on your own,
Anybody
buddy.
Love him.
whatever that would happen.
I used to watch it.
Sure, you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
So like Victoria was the heel in that situation.
you think it's choreographed?
I think it's a dance.
yeah.
All right,
I would
present your
say,
points.
Go ahead.
yeah. Well, there's been a lot of ex cast members, for lack of a better word,
Okay.
that have come forward and like exposed it or whatever and said like, this is what's actually happening behind
Sure.
the scenes. And so I think that the Bachelor franchise is like a breeding ground for like, they attract the drama where people like that look at the exposure, the ability to be influential and find love, which is attractive.
Sure.
Like, here's this show that says, here is this person who's like, has all this going for them.
Right.
And it's like, and now you get a chance to fall in love.
Right.
And for people who are lonely,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but also want the clout,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like, sign
and
me
one.
up.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that it does attract those people. And then you put them in a context where it's like,
Yes.
they don't have their phones.
Yes.
They're completely cut off from everybody who loves them.
This is
Yes.
psychology. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a breeding ground for psychopaths because literally everyone around them is encouraging them to act out of emotion. So the producers,
Right. So
the
I don't think they're
environment.
necessarily being like, okay, now you're going to say this. But
It's
I
not
think they'll-
scripted, it's engineered.
Right. It's like,
But the
how
producer's
are
like,
you feeling
how do you
right
feel
now?
about
I
that
mean,
thing
he
he said
just
to you?
left you
Yes.
from this. He just
Yep.
held up the rose, but didn't give it to you. How do you feel? Like,
now,
you know what
look,
I mean?
And nobody, to be fair, like technically nobody's getting paid. None of the girls are getting paid, but Homeboy's getting paid. What's his name? The main,
Matt
the
James.
Bachelor.
Matt James.
Matt James is getting a paycheck, and so everything he
Yeah,
does
The Bachelor,
is the
Bachelorette,
producers are
every time gets paid.
every time. So they're like,
Really?
okay, now
I don't
you
like that.
got
No, I
to
don't
now
like
you
it
got to
Well,
do
you're
this.
you're under contract.
I would go
Right.
as far as to say that sometimes they make him pick certain girls.
Oh, well,
Absolutely.
and other cast members have said
Yeah.
that, hey, even if you're not feeling this person, let's keep them on for
Let's
one
keep
more
her on.
week.
If you're like unsure about this girl or this girl, like go with this one. Guaranteed.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Well, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
if
yeah.
I
There's
could-
30 of them, isn't there? What does it start at? 30
Golly, there
people?
was
I mean,
like
there was-
so many this
it was like the
season.
most girls ever on a Bachelor season this year with Matt.
See.
But it's like the process. Like watching The Bachelor, I related to like 2 days ago. I'm talking to Ryan's dad, Noah, and he's like, "Oh, did you see that 75 car pileup on the freeway in Texas?" And I'm like, "No," but all of a sudden I find myself on my phone looking up the video of the 75 car crash.
Yep.
That's a terrible incident. Why am I looking up
Yep.
and watching 75 people's worst day of
Yeah.
their life?
Because it's wild.
Because it's wild.
And it's fascinating.
like going to the zoo.
Fascinating. And so you're watching a train burn and you just can't help but watch it. But then too, we're watching it last night, looking at the producer side of it, like an example where the producers set up situations for someone else to be completely bullied.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's
Oh my
like all of a
gosh.
sudden there's this new girl who comes in. The producers plan for when she's going to come in.
Yep.
And she walks in. She's late in the game. There's 10 girls
They're all
left.
sitting on a couch together.
Yeah.
And it is not this girl's fault. It's
Right.
the producers have set her up for failure so
Yes.
I can be entertained by people radically destroying her
Yep.
life.
Yep.
And some
Crazy.
people, unfortunately, are watching that going, yeah, why is she there? She shouldn't be there. I would say the same thing. And it, in a sense, can perpetuate bullying. It can
Yes.
perpetuate
Yep.
toxic behavior towards other people. And another toxic behavior it lends itself to is here's a man dating 28 women and cheating on all of them.
Yep.
and
Actively
that's
cheating on
fine.
them.
And then a week later, proposing.
Right.
Yes. Acting
Right.
like now this is like a good basis for a long-term relationship. Like the entire time you're set up for failure. Like there's no voice of reason the entire time. Like nobody telling the girls like you can't say that. Like you can't completely, like tear down another girl on the show. Like that's not okay. Nobody's there saying that. Nobody's like saying that's not okay. Like you need to stop doing that. It's like the more of that, the better for the producers. They're like, yes, like trash this girl in front of everybody.
Drag
Is there
Drag
someone
her.
is there someone in those social circles that is also acting as accountability? You know what I mean? So if
Right.
like they're already drama and they've been in an environment of drama,
Right.
And now we pull them out of that, we put them in this environment. Like, not everyone has like their parent around them being like, don't do that.
Yep.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Is it just pulling people that are already doing that?
I think so.
I think it is. It's like the untrustworthy narrator because it is like all that we see is what the producers are wanting us to see.
For sure.
So we're seeing these girls at probably some of their worst moments, even on the show, like let alone like who they are as a person. So it's like,
It's classic reality TV.
and we really
There's-
we
there's-
can't.
There's
It's
literally there's like if you think about it, there is if it's truly a week every time somebody goes home, there is literally 30, probably 25 conservatively 25 weeks of footage.
yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Like if you think about like that much time, and then they have to whittle it down to what, an hour?
Yeah.
Right.
And so
2 hours. Yeah.
And then the hardest part, they have to make it entertaining.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're taking like literally 7 days worth of nonstop footage. I mean,
Yeah.
arguably there's probably 8 hours every day you're not using, people
Yeah.
sleeping or whatever. But like at the same time, I don't know. I think you're right. I think Grace is correct in the sense that it's probably not scripted,
Right.
but it's very well engineered. And
Yes.
that's what kind of
Yes.
freaks me out is that
Yes.
there is somebody out
Yeah.
there, or
It's
at
like
least
the
a group
Hunger
of
Games,
people
man.
that know how to
Yes.
pit people, put it against each other.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
just even more terrifying.
The
is-
The best tweet last year was the devil works hard, but the Bachelor producers work harder.
Yes.
It's true.
Wow.
It's
Wow.
terrifying.
I
Yeah.
think
I'm getting that
I think the
tattooed.
funniest part. Wow. Right here.
Game
As a
on.
tweet
my lower back.
with
It's
the,
fine.
yeah, with the
That'd be
Twitter
great.
logo.
You heard it here first. It'll be next week. You'll see it.
That's right.
week.
Big
Live on the
reveal
show.
on episode 14. I think that's the funniest part is we watch it and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she just did that. I can't believe this just happened. But it's like there is a layer of delusion
Sure.
that is happening on, I guess, people that believe it and people that are a part of it.
Yeah.
Here's the part that I do find legitimately fascinating.
Go ahead.
And like as a social experiment is that put in those situations, people's response and reaction isn't engineered.
Yeah.
So it's like their natural response
Yeah.
and
Yes.
inclination to do something.
Maybe.
Yes.
Or like
In
when
a lot of
Matt-
times.
like when the Bachelor finds himself in a situation where this girl's going, I love you, I have feelings for you, and you
Mm-hmm.
can just tell all over his face, it's like, nope,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I am not feeling that.
But then
That's
he
what I
opens
find
his mouth and is
fascinating.
like, yeah, I
Right.
like can't wait to see you next
Yeah.
week. And she stays on.
and you're like,
and that's
he just freaking lied to her
yeah.
face,
And
like
that's a producer in his ear going, okay, you like this girl.
See,
Like,
that's,
okay,
the thing, that's the thing is I
Kiss
feel
go in for the kiss.
No tongue.
Hometowns next week. We want to see her family.
Matt James. Remember to close your eyes.
That's
Please
what I'm
close your
saying.
eyes.
That's what I'm saying.
No, I think then also there's the next layer of it, which is not the fun layer to think about. But
Yep.
like by watching it, you're supporting it. So
Yes.
like
Right.
That's right.
There's that layer of like, you might think of it as like stupid or whatever, but like there are people that genuinely might believe this is
Yes.
how relationships work.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
by
You
watching
are,
it,
I mean, let's just say you are
supporting
better
it?
than us for sure. So Because like not watching it does make you a better person.
It's not because I don't watch it because I think I don't like it, but I also I'm not like a TV person. Like
Yeah,
so
for
that's really what it is.
And then-
I'm not judging you for
Right.
watching it.
Do
I'm
you
just
read?
saying. Well, yeah, I'm a reader. I'm a reader.
I read the New York Times.
Yeah.
I do think there is also. See, I'm just like a stan, so I'm
Go
just
ahead.
like.
Go
Good
ahead.
for you.
I do think there is a group of people that are holding the show accountable, like with each episode. I mean, we are in the throes right now of petitions being signed to fire
Yeah.
Chris Harrison.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about
because-
that.
Yeah.
Let's break it down.
Yeah, why?
Yes.
So what happened?
So there's a girl on the show, Rachel.
Kirk Connell.
Rachel
Yes.
Kirkconnell.
She grew up in the South. Do you remember what state?
Yeah, Georgia.
Georgia. And there are pictures and videos of her and her sorority throwing what they call antebellum parties in the South, where they dress up in traditional plantation dresses and take.
Have you ever heard of this,
photos
John?
And have
I only
parties.
learned about it this week. This is a thing they do, like in the South, is basically like role play, like it's like the Civil
they
War
live
didn't
on
happen.
a plantation.
Like
Yes.
they're all wearing
Yep.
Southern plantation dresses.
Pre-Civil War.
Pretty
Yes.
problematic.
So awful.
Yeah.
And it takes place on an old plantation in the
Yes.
South.
Yes.
So they got released?
So there's evidence of her doing this.
Well, it's been out since the show aired. So since this new season started,
'Cause
we've known
somebody
about
goes
this.
off about this. As soon as they get the list of names, somebody goes in and
Yep.
Yep.
Bum,
bum,
Of
bum.
course.
Yep.
Of course.
And so Chris Harrison on a podcast with the first African American woman to be the Bachelorette.
Yeah, it was live on Extra.
Yes, they.
It was an interview or was it a podcast?
Right? A podcast?
Interview.
An
Oh,
interview.
an interview.
Extra
With Rachel
interview.
Lindsay, who was the first African American bachelorette.
Yes, and so
Yikes.
she took him to task on it and was like, "Hey, are you going to address this? On the show? How are you going to talk about this?" And basically, Chris just downplayed the entire thing.
Just blew it off.
Was kind of like, yeah, well, the problems, of whenever this was.
I mean, you
2015.
can go. It was a 15-minute interview. You can go line by line through what he said and been like, let's break down how that's so problematic.
Right,
Like, it
yeah.
is wild. The biggest thing that he said that was like, wow, is that she said, this is a bad look. Like, this was only in 2018 that she went to this party.
Yes,
And
yes.
and Chris Harrison says, is what we're in 2021 now, is what's wrong in 2021 the same as what was right in 2018? Basically saying that like,
Racism only became a problem recently.
yeah, the problems that we have now are not the same as the problems that were in 2018.
Why would he even address that? It's so weird.
I
wild.
have a theory.
Okay, conspiracy theory.
Another red pill moment for Ryan on the
Okay,
show.
go ahead.
I think the girl wins.
Yeah.
That's my hot take. Is I think that he was
Defending
because the
her.
girl. So it's not like they took her off the show. They finished filming.
Yeah.
And now it's like they've started airing the show, and it's not like they can now go, oh, just kidding, she didn't win.
Right.
I think she wins The Bachelor. I think
feels
he.
that
Isn't that interesting that she wins getting to be married to another person? Anyways, go ahead.
To
Yeah, is
and
wins is the
word.
terminology
Right.
you
Oh, of
use.
course.
You're right.
and
but-
she wins getting married to a black person.
whoa.
Yeah.
And so he feels the
I
need
submit that he was
to-
defending his show. He was defending her to like lighten the mood, be like, hey, it's not that big a deal. Like, let's just forget about that because he's like, or she's like his, winner. That's a
Well,
bad
if
look.
she doesn't win, it's even worse.
Oh yeah, I mean whatever.
Yeah.
But
And she also took a long time to respond herself, which is kind of a little cue that, hey, she probably did win to
Right.
wait this long to say anything when it's been almost 6 weeks since
Yeah.
The Bachelor
Yes.
started.
Right.
that's the
And-
other thing too is that she made a big announcement about, or not an announcement, but like an apology on her
Yeah.
Instagram or
Yeah.
where
Yeah,
was
she
that?
put on her apology was solid. Like,
Uh-huh.
solid apology.
True.
And like people have come forward and like
Mm-hmm.
said thank you. I think the issue is that Chris Harrison just doubled down on
Yep.
her.
Yeah.
And so now
Yeah.
people are like, people
love
who
it.
love the show, that right? People who love the show that have been watching it forever are like, fire Chris Harrison.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
we're
which-
done with you.
And it's kind of interesting because I feel like The Bachelor has always been like a very like white TV show. Like we have white contestants and this is our white male and our white female and it's like that, like only in the past like couple years they've had more contestants of representation, where it's just like it's interesting because I feel like Chris Harrison is the Bachelor and the Bachelorette. Like he's always been, you know, kind of
Hands
the
on the
embodiment
show.
of the show.
Sure.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
it's just a reflection of what's been going on this entire time.
Yeah.
It's just a very tangible statement that he made.
Yeah.
And
Well,
now
they-
people are like, well, yeah, we can, you know.
That's a good point. I mean, The Bachelorette and The Bachelor, the show itself for the past 20 years, because of Chris Harrison's directing and involvement, is a direct representation of the thought processes and character of Chris Harrison himself.
Yes.
That's
Because
what I
he's the
think.
one behind
Yes.
the wheel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's shown his cards too more this season with like the whole his like novel that he wrote that he was like trying to pump like, oh yeah, this is this like
Erotic
novel
Right.
that I wrote, and now I'm gonna have all the women on this show write their own poems. You know, it was just kind of like even more of a reflection of him.
I think
like,
he's just getting too comfy. Here's this
Yes.
old white dude that's making millions of dollars
Yes.
a year off this show, and
Wait, he
he's
wrote an erotic novel?
oh yeah,
Yes.
he's
Oh,
a
yeah.
novelist, John.
A whole section of the show was
It's
women
Hunger Games, dude. It's the
writing
Hunger
their
Games.
own erotic message and then reading it out loud.
and it's not like
I love this show.
the way it's the way it's framed on the show too, which I think is another huge issue with the show, is that like, well, if you don't do this, you know, you may be giving up opportunities to have more time with, you know, the male or female
my
that you're competing
gosh.
for. So it's like, if you don't compete in this physical fight, you know, you probably won't get one-on-one time. If you don't write this poem, which you don't have to, but if you don't, you won't get more time with Matt or whoever it is that's the Bachelor or Bachelorette. So I feel like that's another thing where it's like, we just saw in the episode last night a woman who had to do this like partner yoga with Matt, and she was like,
that was wild.
it was so wild because the entire time she's communicating to him like, yeah, like I'm not really comfortable, and you can see in her body language, her facial expressions, everything.
not during the date. She doesn't say anything. You
She
can
doesn't
tell
say anything,
in
but
her body language that
yes,
she's uncomfortable.
She's clearly uncomfortable, and then at the end of it, she's like, yeah, I didn't really want to, like, that was really uncomfortable for me because I'm not really one for PDA. And he's like, okay, like my
He, like,
favorite
laughed it
part was,
off.
yeah.
Okay, you're gone.
And I think
Yeah.
that's the problem
the
with the
button.
show is like everything is in front of a camera. And if she genuinely was like, I don't want to do this date, she's stuck in this position where she's like, it doesn't make it seem like I don't want to be with Matt, or it doesn't make it seem like I don't want to be on the show anymore. You know, and so in a lot of ways, these men and women are kind of compromising their own, you know.
I don't know though. That's like that goes back to me like your own character, where it's
Right.
like you chose to be on the show.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
It's like
And that's the delusion, I think.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at.
Yes.
Like if you're getting on the show, I guess there is like, and maybe not. Maybe you're just like, I'm in it for the clout. I'm in it because I want to like get famous or whatever and have my minute on TV. But if you're like, oh no, I'm joining this show because I believe I can find love. It's like, I don't know,
I don't,
right?
I don't even know if those people exist.
I don't know
to be
either.
honest.
That's what I.
It just seems like really then like
Actors.
download Tinder. Like if
Yeah,
you really want,
for
if
sure.
you're really like wanting to pursue a relationship with somebody, like
So,
Right.
to
Yeah.
John's question, do people find love on The Bachelor?
yeah,
the data would tell us it's a solid 15% chance.
Yeah.
Like it's not very
No.
often that you've got long-term relationships.
Right.
Bachelor in
course.
Paradise has a better
yeah.
Even worse.
Which
Yeah.
I think okay, so
Better
I
percentage.
think the reason for that is that they get
they get more
quality
time.
time.
Yeah.
Like it's just like crazy on The Bachelor and Bachelorette. You only get 1, 2, maybe 3 dates.
I'm just saying, Katniss found PETA, you know. So
Well,
it's like,
I think here's my thing. Here's what I
Just
wonder.
saying.
I mean, you guys might know the answer to this, but is there any like, aside from the TV side of it, of like we want these characters or these people that we know are going to be crazy or whatever, right? Is there any actual matchmaking happening like before this all starts? Like, are they like, getting these profiles of these girls and going, okay, this guy could actually end up with, you know, these 5 people,
Right.
and like say we're going to throw in these other people because we know they're not going to mix, but we're just going to throw them in for good TV. But is there actually any matchmaking, or are they just like
No.
taking auditions and going
Conventional
We'll see
hotness,
how
I
it goes,
think.
and throwing, because if that like
Right.
I could get behind it if it was like they in detail interviewed everybody and they're
Yes.
like, okay, we know that you're at least, you know, going to vibe with 15 of these girls.
yeah, just
Yeah.
common interests. If you're
So past
you know,
cast members
careers.
have told us
Okay.
that that's what they like. deep, in-depth personality tests.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to take like multiple different ones. You do have like an in-person interview. You interview with a psychiatrist. You also meet with a therapist after the show. Like it's
Okay.
so ABC isn't like, you know, they're not on a budget necessarily with The Bachelor. So they're going all
I
out.
can kind of get behind it. I
Yeah.
still think it's a
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, it's
setting.
wild.
Right.
You know,
But
like,
it's the
if
same
they're
as
putting
like
in the work, I can kind of get behind it.
yeah.
Did
I
you
mean,
tell
Love
me
is
that-
Blind on Netflix.
Yes.
Like they didn't even
Oh my
see each
God.
To
other.
handle.
That's way
show
more problematic.
was
Yeah. Insane.
They
Insane.
talked in pods for like what, 3 weeks?
Yes.
Didn't
Did
even
not
see each other. They had to propose without seeing each other.
Yes.
I'm kind of into that.
Okay.
I didn't watch the show, but look, here's what I'm going to develop.
cringy.
Ready
Another
for it?
altercation between
the same
John
show.
and Ryan.
You know.
Same show, right? For ugly people. I just want like no one hot on the show.
Well, and Love is Blind, but they were all like incredibly
Right,
good
that's-
looking.
I mean,
stupid.
Love Island,
True.
like
I
that's
want-
a whole other conversation.
I want
Yeah.
The Bachelor for like not like Hollywood good looking people because
That's-
every
yes, I
single
think
person on the
that's
show
the thing.
that would be so much more interesting.
That's the
Yeah.
thing for me is that every woman on the
What?
show. Oh my gosh, the
seniors
seniors
one?
Old
show.
people? Is that what
Every
it is?
woman on this show has this
Oh my
a
gosh.
very very similar body type, and I don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's healthy for the viewers. I don't think it's healthy for the women on the
they
show.
don't, they don't want people of substance.
Yeah.
No.
That's, yeah, okay.
That would just
And
get in
there's
the
no
way.
good looking people of substance.
It's
Yeah.
one or the other. Yeah, but if we're talking about Love Island, I mean that's a show I can get behind.
I'll be comfortable seeing it.
Love Island UK.
I think the
It's a
point
lot.
though is that
Yeah, it feels like a lot.
the
so.
like the whole point is like here's this super successful, good-looking person. Here are these other culturally conventional, good-looking people,
Yep.
Yep.
successful people.
Yep.
Let's see how they come together. You know, it's like you're putting it up on a pedestal and
Yep.
seeing what's going to happen.
Of course.
And it's the most popular reality television show
Yeah.
in like 20 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It's that funny thing where it's like they just put people in
Yeah.
like horrible situations
Yeah.
or really challenging situations and see
Yeah.
will this work.
So here's like with all like what you're saying is like the interviews and they meet with a therapist and all that stuff. How does someone with when it shows their work occupation, it says queen, make it onto the show?
Those are just
that
devil
slide.
producers.
They're like, yep,
Yep.
you're in.
You know what I don't like about the show too? Sorry, this is my last thing before I step off
Go
my
ahead, Rep.
soapbox. I don't
Thank
like the
you.
fact that they make it seem like love is formulaic, because then I feel like people assume in the real world, especially impressionable young men and women, they think that now, all it takes is a couple of weeks to get to know, some attractive person, and then you'll get engaged and get married. Like it just
Yep.
seems like very like this is what you need to do. And the formula works is what they say every single time, every single season.
Yep.
The
Chris
process.
is like, trust the process.
yeah.
Yes, it's such a joke. It's like, yeah.
Well,
Hunger Games.
if I could pivot, it was just Valentine's Day, and we were talking
Yeah.
about TV love, but I'd like to hear a story of real love.
Oh.
We have a
Can we-
certified real couple here.
Yeah,
Oh my
In the
goodness.
studio.
Play song.
Oh,
Can we
Wait,
hear
hold on.
the
What's our
love
song?
story of Matt and Grace and how you met, maybe? And,
Wow.
am I putting you on the spot here?
No.
Totally.
This well, okay.
I
Wait.
love to
well, hold
talk
on.
about it.
Oh, that's sweet.
wow.
John, you're engaged. Yeah.
yeah.
Ryan's engaged.
I'm
Kara's
Liz is
engaged.
here.
Olivia is here.
Going on Love
Kara's
Island.
Hi.
Well, it's been quite a year of love. We were talking.
Yeah.
You said that a little bit beforehand. So, like I said, it is post Valentine's Day. So, I'd love to hear how you guys met.
Yes.
Yeah. After high school,
Yeah, we've been together a long time.
So-
I've
Wait.
known Grace. We just tracked it that we've officially known each other for 10 years.
Yeah.
So we met. We both attended a gap year discipleship program at a place called Hume Lake.
Name
and
drop.
we met at a
Gotta do
discipleship
it.
program called the Joshua Wilderness Institute, and a
Joshua,
program
yes.
you can't
More name
date
dropping.
for the year, and in a program you can't talk one-on-one with a girl for a year.
Well, I've
I
heard
found
this
my
about
wife.
this program, and I've known a lot of people who've gone in this program,
Really?
met their future, wife or
it's a
husband,
thing.
and came out and dated them. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I love that.
It worked. It worked.
Trust the
trusted the
process. There you
Right
go.
now, a discipleship program with the rule of no dating has a better success rate than The Bachelor.
That's right.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tell us about it, though. You guys were in this program. You know,
Yeah.
you clearly caught each other's eye, but you weren't allowed to, you know.
I'll kind of kick it to Grace here because when you say caught each other's eye, it was indeed the opposite for Grace.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, really? Grace, first impressions
Yes.
of Matt.
So first off, I'm like little baby 19. Matt was 19. Mm-hmm. So we're just kids.
Just little kids.
But we the first day of the program, I walk in and there's 56 students and it's halfway like half girls, half guys. And they're all we're all between 18 and 24 years old. So it's just like
Whoa.
yeah, I mean, we could have our own reality TV show.
I know.
This is the reality TV show.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So we walk in and I'm like unpacking and moving in our stuff. I'm walking with my mom. And we're going up a flight of stairs and Matt's going down the stairs with his mom. And I'd already been there for like an hour. And I see him, we like make eye contact, and I look at my mom and I go, I'm so glad there's no cute guys here.
Boom, roasted.
I just was not
way.
attracted to Matt at all, And
Super cute start.
yeah, so really romantic start.
I could only go up from there.
Yeah.
It's true.
Can I
He's
just
fighting
say-
the good fight up there.
Yeah. And we didn't really talk like at all with that many people in the program for like the first month and a half. And then we got sat next to each other. We were actually taking a personality test. And we got sat next to each other. And after the personality test, you had to switch your papers. So it was like, oh, switch with the person next to you. And we're like going to go
And look
over
at
your
their
results.
results.
Yeah. So this test, it would test exactly where you were in that moment. So like, where were you on like the depression to happiness scale?
Whoa.
Where were you on like the welcoming to aggression scale? It was like on a sliding scale.
Yeah, hostility to aggression or whatever.
Yeah. And
Hostile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we look at these papers and they're like, okay, just discuss, like, let's just discuss with your partner. And I look at Matt's and he's like 99% depressed.
98.
98. 98.
Aw.
Yeah. And he was like, sad boy.
Sad boy.
Sad boy. And I was like
98% hostile.
Yeah. I did not want to make a friend.
Okay.
Sad boy
And,
and lava girl.
All right.
So we were in really
That's
healthy.
Disney's next movie.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Wow.
Disney's shaking.
Yes.
Produced by Chris Harrison.
We were
Go ahead.
in really open, loving places in our lives. And I look at Matt and I'm like, why are you so depressed? Like, and he was like, well, why are you so hostile? And so we had like this ongoing, like, so from then on, we had like this inside joke. We look at each other, we're like, oh, depressed boy. He's like, oh,
It
hostile
was
boy.
really funny.
Oh, wow.
It
Yeah.
sounds super funny.
Oh, so,
And that was the
Yikes.
moment where we
Yikes.
fell in
Yikes.
love.
yeah. And we were like, just like friends.
Yeah, it kind of became like our joke that kind of bonded us.
Yeah.
Solidified a
starts.
friendship.
Wow.
Yeah, solidified our friendship. And then we, like a group of us, ended up going to, Matt's from Ventura, California. So we like ended up at the beach together, a big group of us. And on that trip, I was like, all right, like, he's my friend. Like,
Sure.
we're at a good, like, friendship spot. And
For me, it was, I really like this girl.
Game
so
on.
In her mind, I just become a friend. In my mind, I'm like, she's going to be my wife.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long was the program again?
Well, a year.
Okay.
So September
But
to the following.
But 9 months
August.
of, like, those rules of, like, you can't date and you can't.
So it was a really slow burn. It was
Yeah.
like
The ultimate long
met
game.
each other, and it's kind of interesting. The interesting part for me is like you got to experience like these intimate parts of each other, like
Yeah.
really getting into the headspace and like seeing where each other at before you even know each other, like know
Yeah.
those conventional parts of each other.
1,000%. Yeah, it like we also went through some just like gnarly personal stuff that year, like within our own families.
Yeah.
But seeing each other like deal with it and process it without like having intimacy of a relationship.
Yeah.
So it'd be like him dealing with something with his guy friends and me watching from afar, and me dealing with something with my girlfriends and him watching me from afar.
Yeah.
But seeing each other every day.
We really did see each other at our best and our worst from afar.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like she had to be up in my business, or I didn't need to be up in hers. It was just observing each other. But also our focus in that year, we both didn't want our focus to be on each other. That's not why we were there.
Yeah. So we like built a solid friendship for sure. But Matt like made it pretty clear without saying it that he had.
Well, it was really funny because you can't have one-on-one conversations in Joshua, and so people in our class were like talking like Matt and Grace dig each other like a garden, like this is gonna be a problem. And so like Grace pulls me into this conversation like with her roommate Zoe, and we're in like this room in the Joshua building, and Grace and Zoe are talking to me because we can't be even, so we need an odd number.
Even meaning. Yeah.
One-on-one.
Yeah, got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so Grace looks at me and goes, all right, there's people talking that we like each other. You and I both know that's not true. We just like, you don't like me. I don't like you. Like, we just need to be aware of it. And I did like Grace, but I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. No, this is not a problem.
Same. Let's show them.
Totally same. I'm not going to go in my shower and cry. No, we're good.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's
But it was
fine.
like so funny. And then February came around, and our class did a missions trip to the Dominican Republic, where Grace served in a microfinance site, which is really cool. They like take women in the community and give them loans, and that enables them to establish a business to provide for their families. And then I was in a site with preschool students, and Grace came to visit the site and watch me play with preschoolers.
I didn't go there to watch it.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Because we clearly know it was a little bit one-sided in the beginning.
Yeah.
What was the moment that you were like...
That was
Because
it.
me and my
Yes.
fiance had a similar situation where I was very sure before she was.
Yeah.
And then it like took her like a couple of months and it was
Yes.
finally like clicked. So what was that moment for you guys?
Yeah, so we're in the Dominican. So at this point, we've been friends for like 7 months. And we're in the Dominican. And I literally, like, part of my role that I was in was to go to the preschool he was at. And so I'm watching him, like, work with the kids. It's just so cliche. But I was just like, yeah, I like it. Like, all of a sudden, it was just everything kind of clicked. Where it was like,
Wow.
oh, he's my... like we vibe, like he's like one of my best friends now, I feel like, in this program, and now he's like, I'm like watching him serve in like a really tangible way. Yeah. And it
Whoa.
was
Working with kids, man.
that's it.
That's all it
Hook,
takes.
line,
That's really what it's and
sinker.
honestly, and like from there, that's like where the switch flipped, and then I allowed myself to like think through what that would actually look like.
Yeah.
But didn't say anything to anybody for a long time, because I've always been like the girl who was like the bro, like best friends with the guys, and like didn't really date. And if I did date, it was like this, like a private thing. Like I didn't really tell anybody. I had like a best guy friend in high school, so I wasn't like used to that. So it was interesting to like process through that as it happened. And then the program ended in May.
The
May?
rules ended
The
in
rules
May,
ended in May.
so we could date going into the summer.
Yeah.
So I want to
Wow.
know, like, in the Joshua T experience, how many people in your class, like, started dating each other when that
Oh my
those rules got
gosh.
lifted?
There was
54 out of
us
56 kids.
and 2 other couples, both
Everyone
of
heard.
which broke up during the summer.
I mean, the day that the rules got lifted, though, it's fascinating and comical.
it's a
Wow.
human,
I was
it's a
wondering.
human experiment.
It's a human experiment. So literally, we're in this big meeting. The rules get lifted. Everyone goes, and it's like twos. Like everyone's just going off to
my
have their
God.
conversations.
I imagine there's a lot of friendships that happen between boys and girls, and
Yes.
it's just like kind of hard to like,
Yes.
not necessarily romantic. So they're probably like, oh, I can finally like talk to you.
Oh yeah.
right?
Well, yeah. My first one-on-one conversation with the dude was my friend Jimmy, and we literally just walked and talked because we were just friends.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't like anything romantic.
Dang.
Yeah. And so it was really funny. And then Matt and I were like almost so terrified of it that we didn't
like,
speak
here
to
it
each
is,
other
this is
for like a
happening.
week. So literally those rules
we
got
can
lifted
do
and
it.
we went like in separate directions.
Whoa.
Worried that, like the magic would be gone because now
Yeah.
like,
Well, it was
there's
like
no,
also
it's
there
real.
was like
Yeah.
this. I didn't want to be the guy who the day the rules get lifted or like
Oh, yeah.
punk rock,
Hit her up.
go for the girl. You know, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna play this cool.
Yeah.
Make
like,
sure my
oh, is that Grace? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I didn't
right.
know that.
Her?
Cool, I didn't notice.
be like the good Christian kid.
Yeah.
Like, okay, got to make sure my heart's right and like we're good. And
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy because Cara didn't talk to me one-on-one up until recently, I think.
There were no rules.
I mean, I proposed, and then all of a sudden we had a one-on-one conversation.
and then we
That's
finally
when the
were
rules
like,
were lifted.
she's like, are you sure about this whole thing?
Yeah.
How long have you guys been married?
It'll
going
be
on
6 years in
this
April.
April.
Wow.
6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's something you've learned in 6 years of marriage?
Oof.
Oh man. What is something I haven't learned? My goodness.
I imagine there's a lot. but
Oh,
I
there's a
don't know.
lot. I think if you guys are familiar with the Enneagram, like Grace is an 8, so she's a challenger, like very like quick to speak, like passionate about justice, and like she thrives on conflict, like good healthy conflict.
Yes.
Hash it out.
90% hostile.
Yes.
Me, I'm a 9 on the Enneagram, so I'm a peacemaker.
You're
So
good
I
at
couldn't
9.
be more polar opposite than Grace. But I think in that, like, I've just learned to lean in to her strengths.
Yeah.
Because where she is strong, I'm not. And not viewing those as insecurities in myself, but like I've been blessed with a partner who makes me better in these areas. And I think so often you can get intimidated, and like when I'm not on my best game, like if I'm being honest, I can get intimidated, but it's just this process of letting her like really lift me up in those things I know I'm not good at. And I would hopefully say vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, and just partnering with each other in that
Yep.
yeah, and believing the best about each other.
Yep. I would say that, yeah, communication, like, it sounds really cliche, but just like talk about literally everything all the time, even if it feels stupid and boring and mundane.
Yeah.
It's like, just keep talking. And like, I think when you don't talk through stuff, then it's like all of a sudden you're talking, it's like, we haven't talked about this in 6 months, and I have a lot of feelings about it. And now it's like, you know, now it's like cracked open. So I think just literally talking about everything when you're feeling it, and just like keep talking about it is a big one. And I like, yeah, I love what you said, like just pressing into the things that you both love to do together, like, and really highlight that, spend time on that. Like, yeah, Matt and I love doing ministry together. So
Absolutely.
it's like, we like doing that, and spending more time doing that together is good for us, and like keeps us healthy and keeps us like motivated in life. So
And it's
Yeah.
we're doing some premarital counseling with 2 couples right now, which is awesome. But actually, I would think it'd be awesome if you shared what what's her name? Just Conley shared with you about letting your partner be 100% themselves, not
yeah.
waiting for them to change.
Oh, yeah. That was so good. So my friend Jess, she's like an author, speaker, writer. She talks about how compromise isn't like you becoming like less of yourself. I think sometimes we think that, where it's like, if I come to the table, I have to be 50% less of who I am to compromise with this person and make it
appease my
100,
partner.
or to make it 100%. Like if I'm 50 and they're 50 and we come to the table, but then you've lost 50% of yourself. And now 10 years down the road, you're like, wait, who am I? Like, I've just become a completely different person, like in this process of compromise. And she talks about like, what if we were fully ourselves all the time, and we both were doing that at the same time, going in the same direction, and like pushing each other and encouraging each other in that way, and how that's like true compromise, because you've come together to make something better by being your best. Like, that's been really, that's been really fun for us to unpack too, because we believe in like equal partnership. And I think being in Christian culture, that's like not highlighted whatsoever, where it's like the woman there's a really horrible and unhealthy idea of submission, especially for the wife. And so Matt and I have like worked really hard at what does it look like for us to be going 100% all the time, not only just for each other, but like towards a similar goal.
And it's like, you look at, you know, scripturally, you look at Jesus, like that I'm supposed to pursue my wife, pursue Grace as Christ pursued the church. Well, what did he do for the church? He died for the church. That's submitting.
That's submission.
And
Yes.
so it's also like, and I also look at Grace talking about this 100%, just going along, like if she gave only 50% of herself, I would still be weak in those areas of my life. Right?
Of course.
But because she brings 100%, she like enables me to be 100% of myself in a healthy way, and vice versa, to where I bring kind of a methodical, thoughtful process. And those are not that she's not thoughtful, she's very thoughtful, but this kind of thought process like enables her to be 100% of herself. So it's, 6 years of marriage, we still got a lot to learn. I mean, we just found that out. She just told me that the other day when we were in a premarital conversation with a couple. And I was like, man, that's so good. So by all means, like,
We're still
your
learning.
marriage is a learning process from year one all the way to the end.
It's a constant upkeep. You just gotta trust the process, you know?
Trust
the process.
As Chris Harrison would say.
Yes,
Well,
and
that's
he
good.
does. Well,
I
thank you
appreciate
guys
it.
so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
This was such
Yeah.
a great time. Just that was a lot of good stuff, John.
Well,
You should really internalize a lot of these things.
Well, I was going to say it's really good to know because, as you mentioned before, Ryan and I are both in, engagement. Like we're about to start marriages,
Yeah.
and so I think I always, when I'm with a couple who like feels so solid and kind of has that like an inherent connection that you can't describe, I'm always like, what's the secret? Because it's like marriage is something that people live through and they learn a lot, and it's like it's so dumb to not just ask people like, hey, what did you learn? Like because I don't want to make this like the same not the same mistakes necessarily, but I don't want to make the same decisions that ended up causing you guys like say so much heartache. And that if we can kind of get in front of that, if we can get ahead of that, as
falling into the
Christians,
same traps.
it's like it's so great. And like we did a little bit of pre-engagement counseling. We're doing pre-marital counseling, and the pastor who's doing it, and he's like, he uses this phrase, and it's kind of quirky and weird, but I think it's funny. He's like, I paid the dumb tax on like stupid decisions. He's like, so let me pay that for you, and let me tell you what
That's right.
I learned, so that way you don't have to, and like that, and you can do the same for the next couple.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you guys, giving us that wisdom.
Absolutely.
And you guys just seem so great together.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
John,
Yeah,
you
appreciate
seem
that.
great.
Get to know him.
John.
Be on the show a couple of times, and
You'll really learn to hate me. Don't worry.
yes,
Reveal his true
yes.
self.
We
I
are.
doubt it.
We're gonna wrap our
You hadn't even
evening.
met me yet, and you bought me a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
We're
well,
already friends.
that's
for
right.
life.
I know that's true.
Wow.
So nice. We're gonna wrap our evening like we always do here on the
Watching
show.
some TikTok.
Watching TikTok.
It feels like a weird transition. but
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Great
a hard
transition.
pivot.
Yeah,
Seamless.
A really hard pivot. Just want to say before we move into this time, I do really appreciate Grace and Matt because their relationship, I feel like even as the only single person in the room,
Hey.
it's
What's
still
up?
like
Holla.
their relationship, I feel like just like as a married couple and as friends, like just gives me such a perspective on like valuing other people's opinions because they value each other so much and they value each other's voices so much. And I feel like that's not something to be lost on like with single people as well. Like just seeing how important it is to really care for the other person or the people around you in your circle, like, and really genuinely care about them growing and how they are helping you to grow. Like,
Yep.
yeah, it's just, it's cool to see, even as a single person. Like,
Wow.
That was 2 cents from a single person. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
a new segment, 2 cents from a single person. Don't
My
you
2
dare
cents.
get in a relationship with anyone because we need that segment.
it's fine.
Thank you.
Don't you worry about
All
that.
right. This is. Wait. Hold on. I gotta make sure we do the transition here.
Yeah.
John and Ryan react.
All right, everybody. Here we go. Oh.
Oh, it's just good. We're gonna get copyrighted. Right? Oh my gosh.
tiny little guy. Oh my god.
That's just
That
it.
is so cute.
I'm worried for him and this
Wow.
kid
He
that
looks
just grabbed him
so
by the neck.
fragile.
Where does he go from there? Yeah.
Wow.
That was-
Wow. Thank you for that.
Just
Wow.
pretty cool. So malo. This one, I don't. Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just enjoy it.
Oh.
I've seen this one.
What is that?
He's like this fireside guy. He does all his cooking like in the wild, pretending like it's possible. Like he doesn't have
Like
a
he's got an
refrigerator
oven on
or-
site.
Yeah.
Oh. This French? No, it's pasta probably.
Is this French fries? There was
Some long
eggs.
French fries. No potatoes.
Wow, this is like
This is
the
this
old
is like,
country in
kind of
Italy.
ASMR.
Overcooked too.
Oh,
say.
whoa!
Overcooked.
We're
Great
gonna have to
game.
pop that on
Highly
after this.
recommend Overcooked.
Wow. This is oddly satisfying.
I'm so hungry.
So I'm actually
Same.
starving,
Same.
so-
You guys want to eat after this?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
Wow.
Holy
Come
crap.
on,
That's
man.
Yeah, no, that's fake.
Just
No
do
way.
it.
No,
cool.
No
It's
way.
not
That was on
fake.
TikTok. That was like
Cute
6 minutes.
video.
How is it fake?
Cute video. That's
How
fake.
is it fake?
That's
He's got a portable.
Italians are
refrigerator.
magic. All right, go ahead.
Okay. This one is honestly.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
I'm sorry.
Heartless.
That was the
He
most
just put-
pure thing
Okay.
I've ever
I mean,
seen.
The caption
I just thought
was-
the painting was gonna be better.
caption-
That's all I'm
Pure.
saying. I'm just saying.
The
I love them. Love
No.
their love what they're about.
Great. Seems like a great guy.
caption
Awful
was-
painting.
Roast him.
We have
Roast
to be
him.
honest.
The
It was
caption
pure.
If we don't have
painting with my
honesty, we're gonna
puppy.
lose. We're slipping away as a society.
That's
The
right,
painting
that's right.
sucks.
Beautiful though, wasn't it sweet?
It was a
I
nice
see
moment.
weeds.
It was a tender moment.
The
Just
sentiment was
go
Are
ahead.
his
Hey,
relative.
Go ahead.
He's perfect.
Play the thing.
You guys, it was just so
Whatever. I liked the
sweet.
Weeknd's performance. So
What does that say?
Go
about
ahead.
you?
yep, there it is. Every week. Every single week.
Wow. Close this out, Ryan.
All right. Well,
Oh my
if you made it
God.
this far,
You're a real
we
champ.
thank you. You're a real one. Matt and Grace, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Production staff, Cara in the booth,
Yes, Cara.
Olivia on the headset, of course. I'm Ryan. This is
Britney.
John.
I'm little Tommy.
Thank you,
in the
Pod
studio.
Decks. Hashtag free Britney. Hashtag.
Brittany.
For
Oh,
real.
that's next week.
Oh,
Whoa.
we're definitely gonna have to talk about her. Join us next week for What the Podcast.
Play us out.
Oh,
The harp sound.
We don't-
I know.
You don't
I
have to
should
worry
have
about that.
transitioned. Hold on.
Harp sounds.
I have to end it the way we
Don't worry,
started it
we're
here.
done. We're not using any more audio. This-
Oh no, we definitely are.
we're using this.
In the distant future,
Oh my gosh.
this podcast is over. It's What the Podcast. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Later.
Oh, to the GoPro.